Welcome and happy Friday. We are the Farm and Ranch Friday podcast. I am your host, Lindsey Holland, and we are excited today to talk a little bit about buying your land and building your dream ranch. I know some people think that that is a far-fetched and very hard task to accomplish. However, my friends over at Texas Farm Credit have put together an actual product within their lending institution that can help you do just that. So I'm very excited to introduce our guest today, Jeff Millikin, and he is going to talk to us not just about what the Texas Farm Credit company offers, but also how we can make these dreams a reality and that lending isn't as scary as we think it is when it comes to farm and ranch.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's a lot easier than people think, and it's within reach with not a huge amount down. I think there's a big misconception about buying land and 30% minimum. A lot of times I hear people say when in reality it's more like 15% or 20% on some longer term fixed deals that help people afford a little more,
So in particular for those listening, because this is open to not only agents, but to landowners and potential landowners as well, just like buying a home, you're going to need some money down. You're going to need to get your files and credit in order and those sorts of things. But truly, you're looking at buying, we're talking to the folks that are looking at their introductory ranch, their first-time landowners. So a smaller piece of property, anywhere from 10 to 100 acres, and looking to build those improvements, not just a house, but when you buy a raw piece of land, you're looking at fencing and well and septic and maybe a barn and, obviously the home. So would you mind just diving into kind of that mindset when you get a client that's interested in that type of goal?
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad you that's what you're starting with, because that is something I think that people need to know, is that that piece of property as you're looking at it now does not have to be the property when we're done, right? Or you can make a lot of properties your dream property. We can roll in ponds, arenas, barns, roads, and everything else you named. So it's really how we look at that is we look at the finished product, right? So we're gonna praise that product as if the house, the barn, the roads, the septic were all in. So we'll get that appraised number, right, off of that future property, and we'll lend up to 85% of that or 80% of that, depending on the size of the property and everything. So it's really, the vision to look at this property is not just a bare lot or even an improved lot, right? We call them improved lots sometimes, where they're not ready to build right off the bat, but they may want to buy that lot, go ahead and then drop the well in, dig a tank, add some fencing. We can roll that all into that loan, so that out of the pocket is not as, because there's a lot of expenses, right? I mean, there's going to be expenses for the next 5 years. That's about how long I've been in my house, and it's still racking up. So there's going to be a lot of out of pocket stuff, but being able to roll some of these things into that purchase loan that doesn't change the rate or term of the loan is real helpful in getting that raw piece of property to a usable piece of property, and then even to a livable piece of property. So yes, we appraise that property off of that finished product, whatever that might be.
Awesome. So we were talking about the lower money down, because in my mind, I feel like when people were building, they felt like they had to have a lot of cash on hand, and this is something to where you can actually roll it into the note one closing. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes. So if they don't own the land, right, they can roll in the land purchase and construction into the same. That's what a true one-time close construction loan, right, where there's just one closing construction, and then it just modifies directly into the permanent loan, right? So it's a 30-year, up to 30-year fix. We have some shorter options as well. One closing. So that's that 15% of that total appraised value is what we would need in. Now, if they own the land, that land will take care of that 15% a lot, because we're appraising everything, right? So that land value is already built into that too. So if people have land that they own free and clear, or have land that has some good equity in it, that equity will cover that 15, or at least go towards that 15% of the equity we need. So when you say, the loan to 85, it's not really a 15% down payment necessarily. It's just 15% of equity left over after the max loan of 85%. So it can be very little money down if they have the land already.
I didn't know that. So in my mind, I know we were talking about the product where you would go and you'd purchase, couldn't find what you wanted, so you're going to buy raw land and do the build out. So this, you also have a product to where if you already have the land and want to start construction, you'll use the land as the equity.
Yes, yep, it's the exact same loan. It's just different, using it different ways, right? So all this construction loans are basically the same. And even if there's existing structure on the property, we can rehab that, right? You can roll in your rehab funds into the construction loan or the purchase loan to fix up an old farmhouse if you wanted to. You know, something like that is possible as well. Doesn't have to be a farmhouse. So just, for some reason that sounded right. But so yeah, that's the same deal. So that 15% isn't necessarily, cash out of pocket, right? It's just available equity after the max loan amount. So
absolutely, and you're there to help the whole way, correct?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different options and a lot of different, construction loans are different, right? There's a lot that goes into it and a lot of stuff that's needed that you may not know about that we do. I think that's one of our specialties is our construction loan on these rural properties, and it's a little different, when there's acreage involved and livestock. Sometimes it's a different ball game than building a neighborhood. So we are definitely here to help along the whole process. So
Awesome. So what are some common questions or concerns that when you deal with first-time landowners, you come across?
Well, I think the first thing is just the lack, the not knowing what you need or what the expenses might be, right? Because, you go out, let's say you go out, look at 30 acres, you're like, oh, we'll throw a house here, and you don't think about, the roads, the fencing, the well, the septic, and then and depends on what you want to do, right? Everyone has something they want to do on the property. Like, what is it you want to do? Do you want to cut shooting lanes in? Are you looking to hunt or have a pond? So there's just the whole picture is hard to know before you have done it, right? If you haven't done it or before we do a lot with people buying their first land, right? That's real. People from the city coming out wanting to have some land, right? That's the dream, right? That's kind of the Texas dream, in my opinion, is to have a place of your own.
That's what I tell everybody. I said, listen, here's the deal in Texas when it comes to clients, or either somebody wants to own a ranch or somebody knows somebody that wants to own a Texas ranch. So
for sure.
Absolutely.
So until you've done it, it's foreign, right? You don't know what goes into it. And there's a lot. I mean, do you need a barn? You probably need some sort of shed or some sort of, covered area besides your house, because there's a lot of equipment you need, and leaving it out in the sun's not generally an option, right? It'll not last long if you don't have it covered. So stuff like that they may not think of. We like to bring up early in the process and see if that's something they want to pay out of pocket or if they want to roll to the loan if they can. So it's there's a lot of different options when it comes to these multifaceted construction loans on these acreage properties.
So in this scenario, what type of other providers do you work with? Do you typically work with some sort of builder contractor in these type of scenarios?
Yeah, we do. There's some really, really good ones out there. I know you've had Brad on a couple things, and he's great. He's kind of, me and him talk about this a lot, about taking that raw piece of land and having the vision to see what it would take to get that to what you want, right? Because it takes more. I don't know if it even takes. It's just. I don't know if it's more or just you just have to know, right? I mean, it takes a lot to get there, but it's really attainable, and it's really easy to change what land is. Location and topography are about the only things you can't change, right? So we can do a lot of different stuff. But yeah, definitely finding someone who knows what they're doing. And there are a lot of there's a lot of local guys that do that stuff as well. But it's really great to be able to get a hold of someone early in the game to get you some realistic numbers, because what does it cost to fence a 30 acres, and cross fence a 30 acres? No one knows, right? I mean, some people know, just not.
Well, and also it depends on your county, right, and location. And, we're here in the hill country, so you're having to drill a hole. You can't dig a hole. I'm glad you mentioned that. Our team uses Brad Beach at All Out Ranch Improvements. And if you watch our show or look back at some of our history, we've had him there, and he's basically our land consultant and works with the lenders and helping those clients. You talked about they don't know what they don't know, and Brad has developed quite a questionnaire to help, because if definitely if it's your first time, and we've seen more first time landowners now with COVID, and people just realizing they wanted some space between them and their neighbor and getting out. And even if it's house with a large yard, if it's 10 acres, there's still a lot more to think about in these rural communities. So yes, as experts in this field, as a farm and ranch broker, we have some providers we highly recommend, and Brad is one of them at All Out Ranch Improvements. And he even mentioned, also whatever provider you use, whatever farm and ranch contractor you use, those individuals having a good relationship, because from what he explained to me on one of the deals you guys were in the middle of doing, is knowing what y'all need, understanding what the lender needs as far as documentation and appraisals and things of that nature.
Right, for sure. Because a lot of the, we deal with a whole lot of them around the state, and a lot of these guys that do this kind of stuff, they don't want to do paperwork or, log into a system and request a draw. Right. And that's basically what you have to do when you're doing a construction loan, is you have to get money to these people, to have someone to coordinate and do most of the stuff, or at least find people who can and coordinate. That is a big deal, because it can be tough. I mean, we do somewhere we have 7 different contractors, right? And getting every one of them to fill out the closing documents and get their, tax stuff set up so they could receive the money from us can be challenging, right? So it's not just going out and hiring the guy who has the bulldoze sign on the side of the road, because he may not be able to receive money from, he may not be able to sign up. So that is very, very important to do some research and ask your professional, land. That's one another important reason to use an experienced land broker, right? A real estate agent. I get a lot of I'm in Brenham, so I'm real close to Houston. So we get a lot of Houston agents, which is great. They're coming out here and they have a client, and they just, it's a different ball game, right? They're probably very, very good at what they do, but it's just so different doing it out here that I sometimes, refer it out, right? Make your referral fee, but don't mess up stuff.
You don't know what you don't know. The same thing goes for real estate agents. We're all not experts in each other's fields.
And mortgage, same lending, same way, right? We have a lot of people trying to do, it's slowed down in the mortgage world. So a lot of people want to do land now, or land's a different ballgame, right? These properties are different. So, use professionals, right? It's just like if you're plumbing your house, you don't want to, hire an amateur or do it yourself. In my case.
Yeah. We like to the reason for this podcast is to educate as well, to let people know there is a difference between commercial agents and farm and ranch agents and residential agents and luxury agents. There's a lot of niches within our market. And so and some of us are little puppy whisperers. As you can see, my dog, he just wants to come visit and hang out. But, you brought up a good point, is finding an expert in that field. And if you're not the expert, knowing that the person you're with can give you those resources, because I have no problem. If it's not in my wheelhouse and I'm not that expert, it's getting referred. And I'm so glad that we have vendors like you, like Brad, where we can decide, hey, is this going to be an opportunity that's going to work for your needs, or do we need to refer it out? Because several times we've had options where, we have the client, we have the land, and it's like, listen, based on your portfolio, based on your area, based on a lot of different factors, this lending product is not going to suit your needs. So we need to find another avenue. And I think that's a great sign of an expert is, I have a fly in my house.
You're getting attacked over there.
I don't know. It's like never a dull moment. Dogs, the fly. I don't know what is up with that. But yeah, no, it's holding it together in the podcast. But I totally lost my train of thought. But yes, having an expert is key. And also those experts are going to let you know that they're not in that wheelhouse. And I think that shows a very credible person in the industry when they can say, you know what, I don't know the answer to this, but let's get it for you. So that's kind of a word to the wise. I tell people, I said, these agents don't know everything. And I said, if you get a yes man, that's kind of a red flag. Like no one does everything. No one's expert at everything.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. No, it's same thing on our side. We have the ability to do like FHA loans. I don't do them because that's not what I'm geared up to do. We're set up to do these rural properties. Did you rub a steak on your head? The fly is after you.
This is
doggy treat.
I was like, this is gonna be a great podcast because I'm getting attacked by a fly, and I and it just will not go away. It's kamikazing me and everything, and landing on my forehead. But we'll see We'll see how far we can
Yeah,
get.
yeah. So our side, we really specialize in these rural properties, right? We've really kind of just honed in on the, we can do everything from the lot to the one-time close construction loan, right? And everything in between. And that's really, it's such a need, right? I mean, there's so much of this in Texas and there's not a whole lot of lending options. And ours is really, really amazing. I've been in mortgage for 20 years and this is probably the best loan program I've ever had just because it's so needed. It's a niche that kind of falls in between that conventional world and the commercial farm and ranch world, right? Which we also do as a company. The larger ranches that might have ag income, more ag income or actual ag commercial stuff. So we kind of fill that void between that conventional loan and the farm and ranch loan, right? We love to have some ag activity, but if they're out there being a full-time farmer or something, we'll probably move them over to our farm and ranch side, which we have some
Absolutely.
offices around
So,
the state, like
a lot
Wade.
of Yep, absolutely. So we'll touch base on that as well. So I know for those that are listening, we're talking about more smaller ranchettes and building. Um, I'm telling you, this podcast is full of entertainment. Do you see a fly for me? Can you do that? Never a dull moment in this house, in this RV. In my RV, and we're having a good time. But so what I was going to talk about is we're talking about smaller properties from like 10 to 100 acres, and really we're focusing more on your building product, being able to do those improvements. Because let's face it, we've exhausted the market. We're coming into a market where there's not a lot of inventory. So, these agents are very challenged and I can't find the client exactly what they want. So, hey, listen, there's a lending opportunity. Let's build what you want. Let's build your dream. So the other side of Texas Farm Credit is, our buddy Wade. If you have those larger ranches, those 1,000-acre ranches in production, livestock, things of that nature, the other side of Texas Farm Credit handles those opportunities and lending products.
Right. Yeah. And so if it comes to like if a deal comes to me, it ends up being more of a farm and ranch. I'll switch it over. The same with Wade. Me and Wade work together a whole lot. But I'm glad you talked about the building and the need for that because there is a giant need for homes. Right. We're really this is a good way to market builders. Right. I don't know. To get builder relationships is maybe come to the table and say these custom homes you're building on acreage, there are some lending options that I know of. Maybe it gives a realtor a hand up on maybe trying to establish new builder relations with these custom builders that build out in the country. Or not even custom builders, right? These, if they're building on these rural developments that have these larger lots, which there's a ton of them in that area, that's a good foot in the door to be like, hey, I can help market or get some sort of relationship with these builders because they're going to be busy. They're going to be busy. I'm expecting building to be really well with these rates dip. They're in the sixes now. We were up to 8.25 about a month and a half ago, and we're down to 6.875 now on our 30-year fixed one-time close construction loan. Right, so rates have dropped that far, and if they keep it up, it's going to get wild. There's no doubt. There's a pent up need. There's a lot of pent up buyers that are going to need a house, and they're not out there. Right. So.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about, you're talking about like a larger market with the rates, but tell me a little bit about your network. I mean, you're in Brenham. That is a beautiful location. We're seeing more and more growth out that way from Houston to College Station. It's kind of like you're just in the heart of it all in a rural community. Tell us a little bit about the growth and what's happening there.
Yeah, so Brenham is really, really growing as well. So we have a lot of land getting split up and split into lots, anywhere from the 2 to 3 acre, a lot of smaller areas, 2 to 3 acres on maybe 30 to 40 lots. And then we have some that are going, 25 to 40 acres in some pretty high dollar neighborhoods. So we have a little bit of both, but there is a whole lot. Chapel Hill, if y'all are familiar with that, is filling up. I don't know what they're going to do. There's too many lots there for that infrastructure, but they'll catch up obviously. But yeah, just blowing and going. We're the first hills from Houston, so you leave Houston flat, ugly, you cross that Brazos and it's just these gorgeous hills. So we're getting a lot of these rural developments, people splitting up smaller tracts into 5 to 10 acre tracts, 5 to 15 acres maybe. And it's a great opportunity to do these one-time close construction loans or even, the two step, but it's, that's what we're seeing, dollar per acre is held steady, if not continued to grow, this last year, despite these rates. We've stayed busy. A lot of sales have slowed down a little bit, but they're still moving here and there. But there are a lot of choices.
Absolutely. So if I am a real estate agent or I am a consumer that wants to get a hold of you, what's the best place to look you up or find your information or find more information about these products?
Okay, yeah, we have a really great website. Like we've gone way overboard on making our website accessible to individuals, right? So you can look up any single person in our company on our website, mainly by location. Like for me, if you went to the Brenham branch, even though my territory is a little bigger, just because I'm a team leader and we have teams spread out. But so you go to the Brenham ranch, you would have myself, the whole farm and ranch side, and another Brittany, another loan officer on my team there. That's a good way to contact us. And also there's a resources tab on there that has, I don't know, 50 videos of different topics that really go over how we handle barn dough construction or, refinances or whatever it might be, or our products. We have a lot of videos on there for that, and some applications. The applications can be kind of confusing because there's multiple applications. So that's usually better to reach out to the loan officer first before filling out an application, because you might fill out the wrong one and don't want to do that. That should be fixed here shortly. We're trying to streamline that a little bit too. But yeah, check out the website. It's texasfarmcredit.com or texasfcs, like farmcreditservice.com. And it's you can look up anyone in your local area. And if you do call, so let's say if you did just look up let's say the Bandera branch, right, and called him, and it was a construction loan, David Deary is the loan officer there. He would get it over to us, right? So there's a pretty clear line. It's a little fuzzy sometimes on what goes where. Is it farm and ranch or is it consumer purpose? We call ourselves consumer purpose because it's really about intent, right? So there's a lot of intent. Is it going to be your home or second home, or are you going to be a farmer, right? I mean, that's and there's some gray area there. So if it falls at our side, he'd send it to us, and if it fell to their side, we'd send it to them. So it's really it's you're good contacting anybody. But if it's a home loan, we've got 3 of us on our team in Central South Texas, and then we've got some other people up north and east. So we got pretty good coverage on the state.
Awesome. Well, just for those listening, I'm going to take and put Jeff's information in the description on our YouTube description, so you'll be able to have that and connect with him directly. I just go to Jeff directly, so if you can do that, I'd highly recommend it. Like I said, they're great people over there. They'll get you to the right place depending on your needs and wants and what you qualify for. So Jeff, kind of last question. We are rolling into 2024. What is the outcome you think for rural communities and farm and ranch in this industry?
I think it's just going to keep getting wilder, that just filling up. I mean, honestly, the crazier these big cities get in their politics and crime, the more people are going to get out, at least have a second home, right? And we do second homes. Our second home product is amazing on 10 plus acres, but I don't see it going anywhere but up. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to move to the country, and now that people can do it, we found out we could do it over COVID, and rates coming. I think people have held off for maybe the last 14 months due to rates, and so they're going to want to do it. They're going to want to move, and I think they're going to make the move, and I think a lot of them are going to move a little further than been moving. We're seeing a lot of people start in Brenham, right, and end up in Gonzales or even Shiner, something a little further out, because just the price point's getting so crazy around the big cities. I mean, I know y'all see that up there too, and I mean, Fredericksburg, for crying out loud. That's an expensive
unicorn. We won't talk about the Gillespie area.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I tell people all the time, like, it's nothing for us to go out to Junction and Menard and Brady, and next to Brady's Melvin. I've actually moved quite a few people to Mason, Melvin, and Menard, the 3 M's, and prices are still pretty aggressive, and there's still amenities. Like there's Walmarts and HEBs close by, and it's a beautiful rural community, and to have a little space. Absolutely. Well, I totally agree with you. Thank you so much for joining me and this wacky crew here today. And we look forward to doing more work, more going on in 2024. And I'm very excited to be partnered with you. So thank you so much, Jeff, for your time today.
Oh, no problem. No problem. If anyone wants any information, just that's the number she's going to put up as my cell phone. So don't hesitate to call or email, and I'll get you over our construction information or our lot loans, and they're both really fantastic. And I think it's a good tool to have if you're showing any real property at all, to have something that specializes in that, not to worry about. We get a lot of deals that end at the very end, like, oh wait, there's an ag exemption, or there's cows on the property. Like, well, there's 40 acres. There's going to be an ag exemption, and that's a surprise a lot of times, unfortunately, and we have to jump in and try to save the day. So don't hesitate to call. I'm here. We have teams all over the place to take care of everybody, and we have a really big territory too, so it's good.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, sir, again, and we'll talk soon.
All righty. Thank you very much.